men. I'm Rowan.
And I'm Calvin.
And this is In the Zone. Today we will talk about Perchance To Dream. It's Season 1, Episode 9 of the Twilight Zone, and this is the 9th episode of In the Zone, so we thought it fitting. So it really starts out great. There's a big shot of this huge building, and it just goes
it's
down.
Completely parallel and kind
symmetrical.
of symmetrical. Yeah.
And then it shows.
And parallel. And
yeah.
Too, so.
And then it shows this guy who's all sweaty, oh, and his name is Edward Hall. And
he seems like at first I thought he was some guy that hated that just hated a bunch of stuff because and got dizzy from everything.
Yeah, and it showed people walking around, and he's like, whoa, showed revolving doors. Yeah, he doesn't really, he has a headache, and he's like, whoa. And then the guy comes up to him, he's like, hey, mister, you all right? And then he goes in, and then he goes to the psychiatrist's office, and there's a receptionist, and she says, we've been expecting you, Mr. Hall, because his name is Edward Hall.
And he's still kind of out of it at the time. He's so dazed.
Yeah, he is. And he goes to the guy, and then he lays down on the couch, and then it goes dark for a second, and his eyes are closed. Then it cuts to a shot, and he's waking up, and the guy's like, I thought you said you were asleep. Tired. And he said, well, I am. And he says he's been awake for 87 hours. And the whole thing is that because he has this heart condition, and so any exciting sudden
and
things.
It doesn't get that Twilight Zone. This could actually happen to someone.
Yes, it does. Yes, it is. I agree with you. Yeah. So he says that if he sleeps, then he'll die, and if he stays awake, then he'll also die. But we're like, why will you die if you sleep? First, he's like.
And he thinks about committing suicide.
He looks out a window.
But he's like, I wasn't gonna jump.
And the guy was like, well, you might have. That psychiatrist character clearly thinks he is so cool, but he's not. And that character is just so unnecessarily colorful. So he opens up the window and he looks down and goes, that's quite a drop. Which is kind of
and there's a ton of people, so he could probably just drop onto a person.
And go, oop. And so he looks at this painting of a sailboat, and he says, ever look at this picture? And the guy says, yes, I think so. And the psychiatrist does. And then Edward Hall says, has it ever moved? And the guy says, no. He says, I can make it move. And he talks about this story about when he was a little boy, his mom said that if he looked long enough at a picture, it would move. And then he was like, I didn't believe her, but the idea fascinated me. And so he talks about how he looked at it for hours and hours. And eventually it moved. Yeah. But then he couldn't control it, and it just moved whenever he looked at it. And so, and then he talks about his heart problem and how he read in the newspaper, this was a while back, how some person was driving, then there was someone in the back seat that got out and killed her. And then he's like, once when I was driving,
and at this part, it's cool.
Because it
when he tells the story, it actually shows it, and that never happens in any other Twilight Zone episodes.
Really?
As far as I know. As far as I know.
I'm trying to think. I'm sure it happens.
When
he's telling a story.
And it actually shows it. It's never really happened.
Well, there are some episodes that are just a story, and then it goes back, and it was which is kind of like what this is later on. So he's talking about how he was driving, and he was like, suddenly I felt alone, even though suddenly, although I was alone, I felt like there was someone there. He keeps looking up in the rearview mirror.
She sees this creepy woman.
And she has
with
these eyes
cat eyes.
And then this distracts him, and then he gets into a car crash.
Of course, he didn't actually see it.
Yeah, just his imagination. Yeah, he crashes his car because of the distraction. And this scene is very spooky. So then he talks about how when he was a kid he dreamed in sequence, and how he had never done that as an adult until recently.
And he asked if it was possible,
And he was like, I'm not saying it's impossible, The psychiatrist.
Try to be the smart guy.
He really gets on my nerves. Like how he's talking about many people expect me to be an old man with a long white beard. And they're always disappointed.
Or don't spoil too much of the episode if these people haven't. Well,
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys should watch the episode ahead of time. Or don't. But if you... Either way, we're gonna spoil it all. So he says that he was at an amusement park in his dream, this episode is very good because there's all this like footage of people at amusement parks going like wah, 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 wah. There's a Ferris wheel and there's a carousel and there's all this.
And then he sees this creepy cat woman, and it turns out it's the woman he saw in the car.
Well, yeah. Well, it never really says that, but yeah, it is very interesting how that. We need to talk about that later. I never realized how odd it is that Maya the cat girl is the same person that he saw in the car. We'll talk about that later. So there's a guy who's like, come into this tent. Maya will give you a sample. And then she does this dance that goes on for way too long.
It's like old-timey dancing.
Yes.
It's like...
So then he like runs away and she laughs.
It's like...
And then he's like, I had to get away. I knew that she was trying to kill me or something. And then she follows him. And he's like, take me to the fun house.
This is all his dream that he's telling us.
Yeah, he's telling the dream, and it is cool, like the way it is shot. And so she's like, come with me, and he's like, well, I guess this is a dream after all, so I might as well. So he goes to the fun house, and she's like, take me in there. And then it shows all these like weird objects in the fun house. They're all screaming.
And they're kissing, and then something.
Oh yeah, and wait. Oh yeah, there's this weird monkey guy in the background who goes, woo!
It looks like short, skinny Godzilla.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the thing on the wing of the plane, but smaller. And then she says, we've been expecting you, Mr. Hall.
It's so creepy. She's
because that's what the receptionist said at the beginning. Did you notice that?
No, I did not.
I noticed that the first time, and that's when I predicted the ending. So they kiss, and then there's the spooky monkey, and then he's back in the psychiatrist's office, and he talks about how that's when he woke up, and he knew that like if he had another shock, then he would die. And then that the next night he tried to put off going to sleep, but even so, he fell asleep, and then we're back at the park. And there's a roller coaster. She's like, "Take me on the roller coaster."
And he's like freaking out, but it's not scary at all. It's just like the blue streak.
But it looks really cool. Like
the shot, yeah.
Because I've never seen a roller coaster filmed with like an old timey camera. So then they're on the roller coaster and he's like, ah! And he goes, jump, Edward, jump! And then he's back again at the psychiatrist's office.
And he's afraid that if he goes back to sleep again, she'll make him jump.
And that he will die. So then he's like, I'm getting out of here. So then he runs out, but then he sees the receptionist, and it's Maya. Oh my God.
And he freaks out and he jumps out the window.
Yeah, he goes into the room and just jumps out the window.
And guess what?
Wait, first I have to say, the guy who jumps out the window, I've never noticed it before, but when I saw it this time, this is like the third time I've seen this episode, but it was so clearly a stunt double. It looked like Jeff Myrtlebank in another episode.
Anyways,
but then
it turns out he was asleep the whole time.
Yeah, like when he lays down on the couch and there's like a second of heart attack. He died like he had a dream. So this is what happened, I think. He had a dream that because I think he never really had those dreams about Maya the cat girl, but he dreamed after seeing the receptionist that he had a dream earlier about Maya the cat girl, and that he was telling it to the receptionist, and that but that makes me think
this is more confusing than the FNAF lore.
The what?
FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh.
Lore.
So
we'll discuss it later.
Maybe. So what is confusing to me is about that car scene. Did that ever really happen, or in that dream, was he thinking about how he saw that? Because he couldn't have seen those eyes before seeing the receptionist, because the receptionist
all, like,
is what triggered him to think about Maya. So I think that never really happened to him, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the only thing that was real was that he had a heart condition. That's it.
Yeah, so maybe he just got into a car crash for a different reason.
No, maybe he was just kind of like... No, maybe he was kind of insane the whole time and had a heart condition. And
that made him hallucinate, like thinking, oh my gosh, I remember that time when I saw Maya the Cat Girl in my car before I even knew what Maya the Cat Girl was.
Yeah.
Alright, what did you think of this episode?
It was pretty good. Out of 10 stars, I give it a 9.
9. Yeah. I think, there is so much to love about this episode. This episode is very good. I love how he just has all these tangents about looking at the sailboat and driving in the car, because those seem kind of unrelated at the end, but I really like them, and I really like this episode a lot. I don't know about a 10, but maybe. I think it's, what holds it back for you from being a 10?
I don't know, it just didn't get, like, it didn't keep building up suspense. Like, it wasn't, like, eventually it wasn't, like, super interesting. I don't know, it just wasn't the, like, most interesting topic. But it was pretty good. There were other reasons I loved it, but...
I think I will give it a 9 as well.
It just didn't give... It was great, except it didn't build up enough suspense.
9 is a high score, though. So that is an average of 9, combining 2 9s. So that is this episode. Next episode, we'll talk about Judgment Night, which is episode 10. Ooh. And that will be our episode 10 spectacular of In the Zone. Expect confetti. There might be confetti.